Hey everybody, Tamara Childs here, Psychic Intuitive on One to Listen. I'm here with Ruth McCants. Hey Ruth.
Well, hi there, Miss Tamara. And we didn't call each other up to have matching outfits.
No, it's so funny because we got on here and matching hair, this is how
Yes.
these things go. And this is also how it works when you have psychic connections with people, which is kind of the topic for today because we have a moon in Pisces. First of all, today is the 12th of July, and it's so here we are kind of midsummer. And this is your summer series that we're doing the weekly energy update today. Ruth, we've got a moon in Pisces, and we're also going to really talk about the cards that we drew for people today, just
Mhm.
the tarot reading, but let's start with this moon in Pisces because I feel like this has a lot to do with what people are going through. It's that feeling state. And what were you just saying about moon in Pisces?
Well, being a sun sign Pisces and having quite a sizable amount of water, I always give big respect to when it goes into Pisces. And I was just saying to you that I don't push the river, meaning it's important to take time to allow whatever is coming to the surface. It's really important to look at it and not push it away, because when we hit the first house, everything that we push back will all of a sudden come forward and we'll have to look at it. So Pisces is a very good time to sit, and in my proverbial hammock, it's a really great time to lay on that hammock and allow those feelings and those dreams to come to the surface, at least for the next 2.5 days.
I really like that. I like that because I would like to speak to an undercurrent that has been affecting people this week of tension. That we still have Jupiter in Libra. People are still trying to figure out relationships of all kinds, and relationships to the projects that they're creating and working through. And there's so much of a balancing act that we are all in. I
Mhm.
mean, now we've been in this for months and months, but to me, this is really coming up for clients this week, this need to balance these relationships. And in order to do that, we have to know how we feel and
Absolutely. Absolutely.
acknowledge, like, don't press that feeling down. And also, you don't have to do anything about the feeling, but you have to, as you say, lie in the hammock and let the feeling waft up through you.
Mhm.
Because if you don't, feelings that get unattended are like bad children, naughty children. They get a little naughty with us if we don't acknowledge them. So thank you very much for saying that. And I too have moon in Pisces. So
Yes, you do.
whenever whenever we have this Pisces energy, and for those listening, there may be some things you're trying to accomplish or achieve, or that mountain that everyone that's climbing. And moon in Pisces says, hang out in this meadow for a while, enjoy the stream, camp out here, you don't have to climb right now. And so I feel like for the next couple of days we have this peaceful moment
Mhm.
where you don't have to climb. You can just lie in the hammock and receive the psychic insights, because Pisces is very psychic. If you want to know something, you just feel into it intuitively. And that leads us to some of the cards that we drew for people today that have a lot to do with intuition. Do you want me to start with that, or
Well,
you?
I'll go.
Yeah, you go.
I I actually drew the first card from the Aboriginal goddess
Hmm.
chakra cards. I drew inner truth, and that seems to be talking totally to the Piscean. In fact, it's blue, and I would say it both has both to do with the voice and the third eye, to
Hmm.
discern your own inner truth. Because one thing about Pisces is you truly can't ask somebody else what's going on in that inner deep layer and get an answer from anybody else. It really is hammock time. It's being willing to allow yourself and trusting, because another aspect of Pisces is trust yourself.
That's interesting, because sometimes Pisces will be feeling other people and will not really be sure who self is. And that's the other piece to Pisces. And yet Pisces can be very just intuitively driven. And for all of us, when the moon is there, we can tap into that. We can tap into that energy. We're all sort of in the tide of that energy where we can feel, how do I feel? And how is this feeling? And it's interesting, Ruth, because I drew, we each drew a few cards for today for everyone. And I drew some cards that are not particularly Piscean. And then, but we are in the Pisces energy. So how it is that we, this moment is asking us to really do the hammock time and be aware of how we feel about the situations in our life without necessarily having to rush forward and change everything. So that's the first step. And it's funny because, of course, you and I, we have so many different decks, and we both chose the Aboriginal Goddess chakra cards today, as well as the same outfit. And so this is the purple chakra fairy. Oops. And this is, we're working in the same zone. This is the forehead and the top of the head.
We'll hold both of our cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're kind of we're up in here today for this particular show. And this really has to do with that, what's right for you. And this is for people listening. And the other thing that comes up when you pulled your inner truth card is that all you have to know is what's true for you. Sometimes people try to get to the absolute truth that's for everybody, but you can't, because everybody has a different viewpoint of something, and we might not agree. But your task this week is just to relax into what's true for you, because that's what matters. It's what's true for you who are watching.
And that's why I want to say, that's why emotions, our feelings are so important. They're like our own personal GPS.
Yeah.
And when you feel a thing, I like Sonia Choquette's term. She says, when you feel the vibe, go with your vibe.
Go with your vibe.
It's not anybody else's, it's yours.
It's not objective. Pisces is not objective, and what we're talking about right now is not objective. So if there's something you've been struggling with in your life, to understand what's true for you, get to your feelings about it and what's true for you, and that can change. But just for now, the acknowledgement of what's true for you is very important. And don't try to compare it to an objective truth of someone else, or somebody else telling you, well, I think it's this or that. That doesn't matter. Not right now. So how you feel is what matters. And
own it. Own it. That's really important. That it is mine, and it's totally okay.
Yeah. And it's funny, I drew some other interesting cards, because this is not a Piscean card at all. The Queen of Swords, everybody. And this is the taking command at the mental level, even if it causes you separation, is for you to really grab a hold of. I mean, this is a card of action, I think, but I think first you have to have the feeling. You have to know how you feel and what's true for you. And then you can slice and dice and, chop up everything. Dogs. My dogs just...
She's talking. She's giving a word.
The two of them just had something happened. That was interesting. That's always a signal when you have something from nature that comes in when you're in the middle of teaching something.
That's right.
There could be You, and there may be also that owning your truth may feel to you a little scary. It may feel like you're going to, fight or, squabble, or it's going to cause separation. And this is a card of that you need separation sometimes in order to take mastery of yourself.
Mhm. Yes, it's important to, in fact, as you were using that card, because I actually pull the Four of Swords.
Yes.
And I'm using, it's called the Tawa deck.
Yes.
And this is yes, and it's beautiful in terms of the card. But what is a four? A four is having, it's kind of like the four directions. How do we blend? Because water, fire, air, earth, and you put those all together because life is continuing. And so when you put all four elements together, even though we're moon in Pisces, we still have to cut through our mental chatter, because that's really what I look at when I think about Pisces to some extent, is that the sword card can help us to begin to cut through that emotional chatter.
Yeah, cutting through. This is the clarification, getting clear.
That's right.
Taking some journal time. To me,
That's
this
right.
is a card where you sit, you separate from activity and connection, and you sit with your journal and you sort through, what do I think? What do I expect? What is happening for me? And where is that connecting with my emotions? So for everyone listening, if you have situations that you're trying to get to the bottom of, sort out, get to the truth of, it's good to take some hammock time, some journal time to sort out, how do you really feel and what do you really think about it? I also, it's interesting because I got the Five of Wands, which is a card of it can be a card of too much energy, a lot of fire and a lot of thinking and this and that and this and that, and engagement and a little bit of struggle and, trying to sort of wrangle your activities and your thoughts and your feelings. And so it's just an indicator that people listening may have situations that you really are trying to sort out, whether they're with other people or with yourself, like little inner struggles or struggles with others. And that, again, the journal time is really helpful to find peace. Also, sometimes when I draw this card, Ruth, it has to do with, am I engaging things from a struggle perspective that I don't have to? Like, am I looking for a fight? It's kind of like that. So just, and again, the journal time and the hammock time will be enormously helpful this week for people to just clarify and get to the truth of what's right for you. It's okay if you want to struggle and fight too. That's okay too. It's a choice. Anything's a choice.
A creative solution might be you've been wanting to go to the gym, so you go to the gym, and the first thing you do, you say, I've always wanted to try these boxing gloves, and that's a creative solution to all of that stuff. You see,
that is. Do I need to have a workout? Do I need to go running? Do I need some alone time where I go running? What do I need that will satisfy this competitive urge in me? I also got. And these cards are just interesting. The Hierophant. And this is the Thoth deck. I love this card because it's so layered and complex. And
yes, it does. It has everything there. That is actually like going into Pisces, into the 12th house, because that's where all of our stuff, our treasure. I like that little, I guess that's the wand, but it looks like a key.
Well, and I love the midnight, I love the earthy golden tones,
right?
And the midnight behind him is that sort of very the deep, the inner resources, the cosmic resources that we each possess. And I want to suggest that getting this card for people this week has to do with always remembering the hookup you have to a higher level of, kind of like whatever's happening in your life that is or is not working for you, there's a higher spirit in
Yes,
your
of
life
course.
that is driving
Hmm.
the bus, and you need to access that, because sometimes when we get down and dirty with the struggles in our lives, the day-to-day frustrations, we forget that there's we're on a larger journey, and this card always reminds me of that journey.
I like that because that calls to mind a very noted spiritual teacher
Mhm.
who he taught that people often have their struggle in one hand, and then they're reaching for the spirit help in the other hand. But then when spirit says, "Okay, just hand it over to me," they say, "No, I got to hold on to my thing." And
Good.
so,
Yeah.
so that your both your cards, the sword cards, kind of remind me of that struggle
Hmm.
that we have to be willing to let go of the thing, put
Yeah.
it by the door,
Yeah.
and then let spirit come through.
Yeah, let spirit come through. That's also a really Piscean concept, because
Yes.
remember, we're in the Pisces energy that's encouraging us. Pisces is it's very forgiving because and very tolerant, because it has all experiences contained within it. So it can one minute feel this way and then it feels this way, and then this devastating thing happens and it's forgiven, all is released, because it's the 12th house, it's everything. So whatever you're going through, it is important to access your inner truth and be in your intuition. Uh, it doesn't all have to, Rome was not built in a day. And so whatever you're going through right now, it doesn't have to all be solved today. And there are higher resources for every stuck situation in your life.
And I actually got coupled with um, the the wands, the
Mhm.
ace of wands. You see, so
Oh,
there is a
nice.
new beginning.
Okay.
If we're able to let go of some of the stuff,
Hmm.
put it by the door,
Hmm.
and allow that new inspiration to come through, because that's really what's wanting to happen. That new inspiration.
So everybody, there's new
Hmm.
inspiration that wants to
Hmm.
come through,
Right.
and if you're focused on what isn't working more than what's working, that can turn into sort of myopia or whatever, where you're not seeing the big picture of everything that's possible. I really like that card, Ruth,
Yes, it
because
is. It's beautiful in
I
terms.
like I
Yes.
like the
Hmm.
triangle it's like
Right.
almost like a window in the sky.
Hmm.
That I love that. I love that energy. That's
And
gorgeous.
it's a portal, and we all
Mhm.
have that inspiration within us. So it's
You,
time to allow it to come and speak to us.
I just realized that this is very Piscean, and I've been feeling like this is a very Piscean conversation today.
Yes, it is.
I did
Yes, it.
not set the timer, so I didn't push the button. So I have no idea if it's time to wrap up today. But is there something more that you'd like to share, just for guidance for the week?
Well, I like I said, for these next 2 days, creative solution has to do with allowing. Pisces is also very, very creative in all kinds of ways. And if you have a dream of something that is speaking to your heart as opposed to the mind, because your sword card was talking about the mind, it's time to allow that. These couple of days can be a very wonderful container for expressing whatever that happens to be that you've had that little kernel, that little fire's been sitting there, and you're saying, I really would like to, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think it's time to allow it to surface through this Piscean energy time.
Yeah, and actually that really goes well with the advice at the beginning, which is the hammock time, that in order for new solutions to arise for you, especially with Pisces energy, you have to just let it arise.
Hmm.
It has to waft up,
Hmm.
toward you, and just kind of rise up from within.
I like that waft up
Yeah.
because my last word on this is you just cannot grab it. It's kind of like air. two elements that you can, well, I guess it's three.
It's like mist.
Fire, you don't want to grab it because you'll really get, burned. Earth, you can hold it, but water and air, if you try to grab them,
it's like grabbing mist.
That's right. It's just not there.
But it will reach you on an inspirational level. So it's almost like fumes or perfume. It doesn't, you can't grab it physically, but it will affect you. It will infiltrate your being if you give yourself some hammock time. So I guess this is the show today, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. This is us in a Pisces moon.
That's right. We're Pisces. We're floating along with a bit of self-care Cancer, because we're still in Sun and Cancer. So some self-care in this creative way.
So much is about the gut right now still, and just really feeling into what's true for you at the gut level and not arguing with that, just letting that be okay, that you've got a truth. And just keep in mind that there may be some underground tension that we're building toward in the next few days with the weekend and some aspects on the weekend. So your gut and taking good care of you through the weekend is really important.
And flow with your truth. Just flow with your own truth.
Ruth, thank you for meeting with me. I felt like this was such a relaxed meeting today. We're just inviting people into our hammock space. And I'll put the links, everybody, if you like what you're getting here and this week's weekly energy update, please do subscribe below to the channel. Also, I'll put links to have a reading with me or with Ruth below, so you can go much more in depth and get support for who you are. So that's it for this week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.